Mr Speaker, my question's to the Premier. Premier, your announcement to enshrine net carbon zero emissions by 2030 is cynical non-action on the climate crisis.
You are a
climate scientist here, everyone.
We already reached that milestone.
Order.
We reached that milestone in 2015 thanks to the Tasmanian Forest Agreement negotiated under a Labor Green government.
Thank you, Cass.
The TFA that you voted against reserved our vast native forest carbon stores. Your government crowed about reaching net zero back then, in the same year that you ripped up the Tasmanian Forestry Agreement legislation. And since then you've accelerated the clear felling and burning of native forests, the very carbon banks that got us to net zero. Today you trumpeted your government's climate ambition, calling yourself nation-leading. That's greenwash. Not only are you setting a target that we achieved 6 years ago, but you're not setting targets for industry sectors when emissions in transport and industrial processing are growing year on year. Premier, if you want to keep our communities safe from climate hazards and you want to be able to look the children who will be striking on Friday in the eyes, you need to commit to end native forest clear felling and introducing strong sector targets by 2030. Are you prepared
on a point of order. Member for Franklin.
Are you prepared to do that?
Member for Franklin, on a point of order.
The member's been on a feet for a minute and a half and hasn't asked his
Distraction. Take it seriously.
You did hear the question, Premier.
End forestry, I think.
It's all very funny.
There's a climate strike on Friday. Take it seriously.
End forestry.
Mr Speaker, I thank the member for Franklin for that question. And to be honest, I am staggered. I'm absolutely staggered that you would come into this place and ask that question today. You know, Tasmania is a nation, an international leader. Tasmania is an international leader.
We've reached it.
Mr Speaker,
do the things
Mr. Speaker, you look at renewable energy, and the Minister, making that point a few moments ago, we can generate 100% of our renewable energy needs. We can generate 100% of our renewable energy needs, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we have an emissions profile, emissions profile that is the envy of the world. That is the envy of the world, Mr. Speaker. And yet the Greens can't accept that. And it just staggers me.
Order.
The Premier is misleading the House. We do accept that. I made the point in my question. We've been there for 6 years.
It's not a point of order, Dr Woodruff. You know, this is not a debate. You can't stand and make different points through the contribution.
He's misleading the House.
You've asked the question. I will admit it wasn't completely in silence when you were asking the question, but I would ask that the Premier be heard in silence while he answers it, please.
Well, Mr Speaker, thank you, because I think this is a very important matter. And I've said on a number of occasions, we are at a very important moment in Tasmania.
That's right.
You know, we have a range of opportunity in front of us. You know, building off on the back of the work of governments over the last 100 years in terms of the investment into renewable energy.
That's right.
You know, the choices that were made by different governments, and there were choices made. And I'd make the point, and the Minister for Finance made this point as well. You know, if the Greens could point to one dam that they supported, Mr. Speaker, that would be something that they could enlighten the House with, to be frank. But we have a renewable energy base that has been built over the last 100 years and will continue to grow, with a target of 200%, Mr. Speaker. The carbon sink that we have in our forests, I acknowledge that. And I've made the point in this, place on many occasions that the carbon sink that we have came at a considerable cost to our communities as well. A decade ago, with the way that it was managed and the way that it was rolled out, there were families sitting in lounge rooms around this state,
millions of dollars of compensation,
watching their businesses and their homes be lost. You know, sitting there with their children, and there was a price that was paid.
Dr Woodruff, if you can't, sorry, Premier, Dr Woodruff, if you can't listen to the answer in silence, silence, then you'll be doing it from the monitor outside. So please.
So, Mr Speaker, I acknowledge the carbon sink that we've got. And what it means is that we have a fantastic opportunity, not just to lead this country, but to be one of the leaders on the international stage as well, Mr Speaker.
That's true.
108% below, 108% below the 1990 baseline is where our emissions were in the last year that they were accounted for, Mr Speaker. 108% below. You know, we are where nations want to be, we are where other states want to be. We are in such a rare position that we can set a world-leading target of net zero emissions by 2030, and we can ensure, Mr Speaker, that we take everybody with us. That we take everybody with us. And as a result, Mr Speaker, of the decisions that have been made, as I've said, over the last 100 years, we are in that rare position where what we will see occur into the future is an inflow of investment. There will be more jobs. People will want to be here because we have such a special opportunity. And I just wish that for once you would accept, Mr Speaker, that the Greens would accept, Mr Speaker, that we are in a good place, and that you don't need to be punitive. And it's interesting, Mr Speaker, when you look at some of the outcomes in terms of the emissions profiles. Obviously, in terms of electricity generation, we do very, very well. But if you have a look at agriculture, you know, we are below the 1990 baseline in emissions right now. Right now, negative 8%, Mr Speaker. You look at the waste sector, negative 26%, Mr Speaker. Those sectors have managed to migrate there by themselves. And Mr Speaker,
talk about the transport.
If you could wind up, please, Premier.
Mr Speaker, that since 1990, our economy has nearly doubled.
That's right.
There are more than 60,000 jobs now in Tasmania, Mr Speaker, and we lead the world. We lead the world with our emissions profile. And what we can do, if we sensibly and responsibly work with our industry sectors, we can take everybody with us, Mr Speaker, and we can be a beacon, not just for this country, but for the world in terms of what we achieve and, importantly, the legacy that we leave for those Tasmanians that are going to follow us.